been cars since always. And that complete turnaround with the staff, but they actually came to me with an idea. Close to it. I'm close to it. It's a very difficult one to explain.
Imagine crashing your car only to lead you to buying a business. Well, that's the story of my guest today, David McIntyre from Tru Turn. David bought Tru Turn as a business after his wife needed some repairs done to her rim. Now, if you're looking, how do you enter a business, how do you buy a business, and how do you handle change within the business and get your staff to buy into you as a new owner when they've been there a lot longer than you, then this podcast and this episode is for you. So take a listen, make sure you like, follow, and share with someone who could benefit from this. So David, let me start off by going right back to the beginning. Like, what was your first job?
My first job?
Yeah.
I was hired by Eskom as a boiler making apprentice.
A boiler making apprentice. So what does a boiler making apprentice do?
Boiler making is metalwork.
Okay.
So that was one of my many qualifications, was metalwork.
That's interesting. And I mean, that explains how you kind of got into, Tru Turn and things now. I mean, obviously it's very different, but it's also metal or not.
Look, when I started studying, I originally started electrical engineering, and then I went through everything: diesel mechanic, petrol mechanic, fitting and turning.
Yeah.
The only apprenticeship I could get at the time was the boiler making, which I went and did that. I ended up working for Eskom, but more in the CNI and software side. I did SCADA systems and that type of thing. And yeah, my interest has been cars since always. Always. And my sort of dream job was to get myself my own workshop, and so I'm close to it.
I was going to say, if I gave you an unlimited amount of money today, would you go and build your workshop?
I would build a workshop which is from start to finish everything on a car, from the interior work, panel work, actual engine work, through to modifications and software. I'm a car fanatic.
No, I'm right in saying, David, before you got into, before you bought into Tru Turn, and we'll obviously talk about that in a bit, like you were in the IT field industry.
Yes, I was in the casino industry and the IT side.
Wow. So would you say that your passion for cars is kind of what led you to Tru Turn, and buying Tru Turn, or what was the main cause?
It was actually a mix of things. The last place I worked was the Caledon Casino. I'd been there for it's far too long. It's like 16 years. So it was a mixture. I was well at the point that I was bored where I was, and this opportunity came up. So it was a completely different avenue. So that will take the boredom away. And yes, I enjoy cars. So
and for a lot of people out there who want to or are looking at, say, buying a business, for example, how did the opportunity come up?
My wife actually drove over a traffic circle, wrecked her front wheels. I came to fetch the wheels on a Saturday. It was a very, very quiet Saturday. So the owner and myself were chatting, and she mentioned somewhere along the line that she's looking at selling. And my house is 7 minutes away from here, and I got about halfway home, and I made the decision that I'm going to buy the place. I actually didn't know the price or anything at that stage.
Nothing, you were just like, I will make it happen.
Yes. It was actually quite funny because it was an Afrikaans lady that owned the place, and she's like a proper Afrikaans tannie. And when I came back on the Monday to now say that I'm going to purchase the place, she actually thought I was coming back to complain about the wheels I picked up on the Saturday. So yeah, it was quite an interaction because she was ready to fight with me, and I'm ready to go, yeah, I'd like to buy your business.com.
And I mean, looking back at that now, David, what advice would you give to someone now who's wanting to buy a business?
Do it a lot sooner than I did.
Yeah?
Yes. Best decision I made.
Best decision?
Yes. No, look, I mean, there's a lot of stress in all of that. You're running your own place. Whatever you do is your responsibility. You've obviously got your your staff that you're responsible for, but no, it's a much better working for yourself. If
Now
you
tell
take,
me,
because I
obviously,
was in the big corporate and all of that, so if you take all the politics and all of that nonsense away from your life, it's a lot simpler.
and tell me, David, how do you manage change in a business then, took over? Because obviously you had a lot of very skilled staff, um, and I mean, I remember when I was there, you showed me, you introduced me to some of the guys who've been there since the beginning. Like, you're now coming in, can I say, the new owner. Obviously, you want to add some changes. How did you handle that?
It's a very difficult one to explain. To me, any business, no matter how big or small it is, the most important part of it is the staff. So I put the staff first in a lot of ways, and it's letting them feel that way. And you will see, so it's that putting a lot of trust in them, making a better working environment, which fortunately in this case it wasn't that difficult. And when people are happier, they want more of what has been happening. And as soon as you get into that position, change is very, very easy because you've got that positive attitude around the change. So it's simple things. Like one of the first things I did here is we actually burn the wheels to take the paint off, which is a terrible process because there's smoke and ash and it stinks and whatnot. They were doing it on the floor right next to where most of the activity is where we work. So one of the first changes I did is we had a little room that wasn't really doing much, put proper extractor fans and everything in there, and that was the room that we did the burning in. So it's an incredibly positive change, very small, and people start to, yes, changes is not that
Okay.
bad.
So you start with changes. Can I say that or not? I wouldn't say immediately, but very quickly they saw the benefit to the team.
Yes, and again, you can also lead people to that part of the idea is theirs. You start discussing it, and you can angle the discussion a little bit. And yes, you come together. This is the thing that we want to change. And that as soon as you've got that we and there's the positive with it, then the change is easy.
It sounds like you're a very, can I say, inclusive leader, David. Like
Yes.
you like to have your staff's input on, I mean, can I say, some of the decisions and things like that and the changes you make?
Very much so. Very, very much so.
Yo.
And it's a mix
Mm,
between it's mixed. It's the attitude thing, and like you rightfully said, they've been doing this for many years more than me. The knowledge is there as well.
yo. And what other changes would you say you made the business that you're, can I say, proud of, or you felt like made quite a big difference?
Very proud of. When I first took over the business, well, let's start with there's two types of rims in look-wise that you get. You get the normal painted one, and you get the diamond cut. That's the ones that's got the polished silver surface and some kind of darker color painted in. There is a special machine that you can buy to actually do the diamond cutting. It costs just over R1 million. That was my biggest goal when I started or took over the business is I need to get one of those because we weren't doing those rims. Like we were discussing, there was a lot of positive changes going on in that. And then the staff actually got together and started thinking of ways that we can do this type of wheel without buying the machine. And they came to me with some ideas. We then started working properly together. And now we actually do the diamond cutting by hand. We actually get the exact same look finish as the machine and without removing material from the rim and making the rim weaker. So I've actually ended up with a better process and not had to spend R1 million, which yes.
And I guess
And it's a mix. It's everything. It's that I can do it. I didn't have to spend R1 million, and that complete turnaround with the staff. But they actually came to me with an idea.
I was going to say that shows that the level of trust your staff have with you of like, wow, this is what he's trying to do. How can we help him do it?
Yes, and their interest in the business because now they also want the business to go forward.
Wow. What would you say is one of your keys to success, with Tru Turn?
Honesty. It's
Yeah.
a big thing in the motor industry. Unfortunately, there's there's many sharks and fly-by-nights and dishonest people. And yes, we do everything honest, above board. And it comes down to simple things like it's like refurbishing a 19-inch rim. My price is 900 Rand per rim. But if somebody comes in here with a Porsche or they come in here with whatever car, they get charged the same price. And people notice that type of thing. Because if you go to generally in the motor industry, you go somewhere in a big, expensive, fancy car, you're going to pay big, expensive, fancy prices.
Oh, where your philosophy is, I'm honest.
Oh, it's the same with my pricing. It's honest work for an honest price. It's not inflating just because of the car you drive or that there's nobody else in the area that does the work.
Yeah, sure. Now, what was one of the biggest struggles you had, obviously taking over Tru Turn and
The admin side, because I hate admin. No, I do all my own admin, and there wasn't really a system in place. So right from the pricing structure, there wasn't actually any kind of real structure. It was documented, but it wasn't being stuck to. And there's a lot of repeat customers. So it was getting everybody onto that there's actually a structure and this is what we follow. And then myself teaching myself to do the admin on a regular basis that I don't fall behind.
Sure. And when did you buy the business, David?
I took over 1st of September 2019.
Okay. How was COVID?
Oh, it was awesome.
What?
No, it was terrible. Because I'd just taken over. My wife is Russian. I did work over there for a couple of years. So just after I took over, we decided, okay, I'll do our last trip together to Russia. And that's when the whole COVID thing started. So we had to cut our trip short. We got back here the day before they locked down the country. And then, yes, lockdown. The other thing was Tru Turn closes during December. So that was my biggest stress is cash flow. I took over September. I didn't have much time to gather money and pay staff. Well, we closed for 3 weeks. So we closed for 3 weeks. And then, COVID hit us.
And talk to me, David. A lot of us who watching us have never bought a business before. When you buy a business, do you pay everything up front, especially when you're doing it like this? It's not through, say, big brokers and stuff. Is it split? Like, if you don't mind sharing a bit of.
I basically went to the banks, got a business loan. You have to write all those fancy proposals and strategies and whatnot. But managed to convince one of the banks to give me the money, and
That was it. Yo. Now, if you had to start all over again, David, you said running your own business was the best decision, and you would do that sooner. Would you still be in wheel repair?
I'm actually enjoying it thoroughly. So yes, definitely.
You say actually like you're a little bit surprised that you're enjoying it.
Yes, because it's a very niche market. It's not something I would have ever thought of. When you think of car repair, you're first going to go to engines and all of that type of thing, maybe panel beating, but wheels it's not something that's really on the list.
Cool. And the future, what does the future hold for Tru Turn?
Is expanding this current one. Like I said, my dream is to have a from one side to the other side. Yeah. So it's adding services slowly until we can get to that point. So the big plan for this year is to purchase a building.
So new building.
I can't expand in my current one. I love this building, but I'm very limited in space.
Okay. So guess a new building so you can
so that I have the space to do expansion.
Wow. And if you had to go back, David, what advice would you give to a 20-year-old version of you?
That's always a difficult one. Because
Hindsight's the
everything
best
that,
side.
and even like you're saying, so I should have started earlier. It's a difficult one because everything that makes me now what I am now
Mm.
is the experiences and obviously the mistakes that I made when I was 20. So yeah, it's a very, very difficult one that. But yeah, the biggest thing I'd probably say is don't wait too long in the same rut job before changing. Fortunately, in my life, it came a bit later than 20. But yeah,
David, do you have kids?
yes, I have three, two boys and a girl.
Do you want them to start their own businesses one day?
Definitely. I think that is the future. You can't be
Employed.
You can't rely on somebody else to pay you.
So, David, I like to end off a podcast asking everybody the same question, about where we create a bit of consistency. And it's basically, what would be your biggest tip to live a more rad life? Now, when I say rad, I mean better, happier, more fulfilling, more successful life. So, what would be your tip to live a more rad life?
Follow your passion, and even choosing like what business to work in, or even if it's to start your own business, do it in something that is your passion. It makes a incredible difference in your life.
Great, David. Well, thank you so much for being the third guest on the Rad Times podcast. And yeah, I hope that you get that building very soon.